Right, hello. I did a video yesterday. I guess watch that one as well as this one, because I was going to try and follow on from it. So yeah, I talked about trying other decks. I am still trying other decks. Still, to be fair, I just play a lot of Lorcana, so don't think I always go away and only play blue steel. I play a lot of other decks, but it seems Blue Steel is quite the mistress. I can't seem to quit. Because yeah, playing sort of RP into some matchups and playing Red Blue into some matchups and playing a few other things, it always comes back to I think I could have won this if I was on Blue Steel. And I think it's still, if you were to bring it to a regional, it's still on the tables for me. Just the more I play other decks, the more I wish I was playing Blue Steel and think, if I just had it built like this, I could play it. I could probably get some wins here. And I think because the meta is so wide right now, we do have two decks that are predominantly at the top. It is strange though when you play in different environments such as Connect, locals, um, or any sort of events. You just see how wide the Swiss sort of or the earlier rounds are. People want to try lemon lime, green purple. Blue green is still around. There's loads of decks there, so. I still think, yeah, blue still's in for a shout, and it's definitely on the tables for me. And as I say, the more I play other decks, the more I think about blue still again. So yeah, I just thought I'd do a video about if I do come to bring it to a regional, because I think some people will do it. It's still, even at the 10k, was the fourth, I think, just naturally where it usually lands, the most popular deck, and it was above the others. It wasn't just a similar meta share to say purple steel and a few of the other things like green steel that have fallen quite low down. It was above them by a decent percentage. So it still has quite a lot of popularity, but it's still under the radar in a sense, sort of where blue still likes to be. It does. I think it likes a lot of mirrors. I don't think it does well when it has a lot of mirrors. Yeah. So objectively, if you were to bring it to a regional, you need to start looking sort of at everything about the deck, whatever deck you pick. And the first thing a lot of people say is you have to look at where you're going to find your two O's, because I think blue steel, if you were in a best of three, I think you could probably take the list very confidently. And that's why I said for store champs, I hope a lot of store champs still do best of three. You could win quite a lot there because it's on the play. You're very very favoured. You're very much in the driver's seat. You get to do everything first. You get to lock in your ramp early on, and then you get to basically just roll the game as it usually is. Um, and the draw you sort of struggle. So I think objectively, yeah, if you would take the list, and this is the list sort of I've been playing with because I just play a lot of Lorcana and I've been enjoying playing this. And I think you have to look at the things that you can, I wouldn't say guarantee, but very, very favoured into 2-0ing. And right now it would be green purple has a rough matchup into us. We ramp, we get card draw, we just lock the board down of Cogsworth. We do very favourable trades. We can get Ariel to start singing. We don't really need the dime because they have Clarabelle to break it now, the one drop Clarabelle. But you can still use the dimes, do a dime tap on one turn. You can use Pete to lock them down if you want to Pete Tamatoa. So yeah, you still have a lot of benefits there. I saw in Artifacts that he rated that the blue steel was probably one of the worst matchups for their deck, and that deck is quite popular. People love green purple. I see it a lot in European metas. I think there is quite a difference to note that NA metas and European metas are different. People have their different choices and their different things they prefer, and green purple seems to be quite prevalent in Europe. And the other deck is red purple. It's sort of something I think we can always 2-0. And I think maybe looking at this list, the more I think I'd really want to get the 2-0s on red purple. Maybe I'd add some things in there, maybe some more consistent 2 drops, so maybe an Argus back again. That of course will affect your other matchups. But if you're aiming to get quite a good run, you might need to do these things to get to achieve that good run really. Um, but yeah, overall, and then I think the Ruby Sapphire you'd sort of have to write off as Ruby Sapphire sucks, and with my matchups always sucking. So you try win on the play, and you probably will win on the play if you get the Smee Quill, and then you can just go over them and just do things faster than them. But on the draw, it's going to be hard. You're going to have to hope they brick, hope they mess up, hope they aren't playing at the same skill level. But yeah, I think that's the matchup you can write off, and I think every deck usually tends to have some matchups where it says, "I hope I don't see that at the regional anywhere." That's just how it is, because if a deck had 2-0 matchups across the board, I think you probably wouldn't. I think everyone would just play that deck. So I don't think every deck has a 2-0 across the board matchup. So yeah, Ruby Sapphire would be one. I think you want a 1-1. Steel Song, I think you can bring to a 2-0. I think it's a very skill-based matchup. It's quite intense. You need to know everything. You need to be very precise. Um, I still think you can 2-0 that matchup. I've been practicing a bit with this list, and I have been. I think you just have to play quite confidently. You have to mulligan for your early drops and just say, play them out. If you've got answers, you've got answers. You're going to have to use them, which means you quest for one less. I'll take that one less lore. Get to the Cogsworth, try and win the board back with the Tinkerbells. I've been trying out Arthur because Pete is quite popular right now. I mean, I've got 3x on the screen right now. So yeah, you want to be able to interact with the board even when Pete has been used. And majority of the time, people are going to use Pete when they've not won the board hard, but they don't want you to just play a board wipe card. Um, because if you've lost the board and then they Pete, you weren't going to win that game anyway. I'm really sorry about that, but that's just how it be. So yeah, I think that one you can bring to a 2-0. I think you need a lot of practice into it. I think it is doable though. And then finally, all of the rest of the meta, Purple Steel always pops up. In Lil, I played 3 Purple Steels, and it was not particularly popular deck. It sometimes makes day 2 cuts, it gets top 64. So yeah, I definitely think you can farm sort of all of those other things. I think blue-green, if you play your aerials correctly, and just the nature of that deck being fairly not the best right now, it's just a little bit bricky. I think you can do that. On aggro, I think you can probably get a 2-0 if you open, with the hook Smee, and then you get to the grab your swords and everything, and then you break their Chromacon with the Simba and slow them down, get the aerial to start questing. All those other little decks that you see and people try. I think Lemon Lime is pretty hard, but Lemon Lime's just Lemon Lime. I don't think there's any deck. If they've got the nuts, they've got the nuts. But yeah, overall, I think you can work some 2-0s in there. You'd hope for the red, purple, green, purple line, really. You'd hope to get all the way to the finishing line with that. Just get 9 rounds of that, or at least get 5 rounds of that, so you can get your 2-0s locked in, and then 1-1 the rest, or it's usually 5 2-0s and the rest are 1-1s. I think also another thing to mention is the mirror probably won't be as prevalent, and I'm just not a fan of mirror in any card game, and that's also why I usually tend to not play the most popular deck, one that's just below in the meta, because I don't like playing mirrors. I find sometimes you're just playing the same turns, but you're playing one behind. If you're on the draw. So yeah, I think overall that's not great. But yeah, the way I've looked at this list is I've just thought, right, the meta is fairly wide. There is 2 decks that are very common, but I can't really do much about that. So I'm just going to play to the best of my ability and the best strengths I have. So I'm always going to hard mulligan for a Smee and a ramp card. And then, Hook would be very valid into a lot of matchups. If you can get a Hook, Smee, Mickey into a Steel Song, or, a lot of the Steel matchups, you're going to be in a great spot there. You've got cards in your hand because you get to preserve it with the Mickey. Then you can get your 5 drop down, your Chiempo, your Cogsworth, and you can just win the board quite hard into a Steel matchup. Even if you keep that into Ruby Sapphire, that's not going to be the best hand. You'd want the Quill instead. But of course, you can still aggro aggro quest and just keep questing, and then hopefully by that time you figured out the matchup, you've drawn some cards you want to get you back into the game. I think cutting Bell has been a decision as well I've made, because just for some reason they've printed so many cards that say if your character has 2 or less, it's going to get punished, like Under the Sea, Sisu. Don't know why they printed all these cards that do that, but yeah, it just seemed pretty bad. So Tamato and Ariel, and we kept it at 2/2. So Dime targets aren't everywhere, but Arthur does quest for 3. So if you're able to get Arthur out on the board, then play the Dime the following turn and quest, you can get 6 lore. So that's not too bad. And there's a lot of 2 questers across this list as well. But yeah, I think this is where I'd start. This is where I've been playing on Connect, and it's just basically been, and in testing group, sorry, as well. It's basically just been playing as confidently as you can with your cards, constantly making them say, do you have answers for this? Because I'm going to play my Smee. You might have a strength, you might have Let the Storm Rage on, you might have a Sing Zeus, but do you have it? And if you don't, I'm going to go a lot ahead on the value. So yeah, this is definitely how I'd look. I'd say just play as confidently as you can. As you get closer to the regional and you play more, you'll be like, right, I really think I can turn that red-purple into a 2-0, but I think I need Argus back in the list. You can do that. Just don't try and lose the consistency of what's making the deck good, of just playing confidently. But yeah, I definitely think there is a run where Blue Steel can get to it. I think it won't be surprising if you see some in the top 64. There are people who have been playing this deck since set 1, and I think sometimes as well, you can pick up a new meta list, you can learn it in a couple weeks, but you will not play it as confidently as someone who's just been sticking to one list for so long. And I think that's quite important to mention about Ruby Amethyst. That tech, in most instances, shouldn't exist anymore. It's playing older cards. It's pretty power creeped out. It doesn't do anything particularly special. But the players who play that, they're in the top 1% of playing it, and they just do really well with it. because they know what they're doing. They play their lines to the best of their abilities. They play everything as precisely as they can, and just sometimes that skill and that value of that game knowledge is just going to carry them through and get them through to the next round. So yeah, definitely I think Blue Steel is in for a shout. I still keep going back to it because I'm just I think there's something also to mention as well, your confidence and your how comfortable you are on a list. If you've picked up Ruby Sapphire but you're not really comfortable or confident on the list, maybe don't play it because you're going to have to do 9 rounds of it. And if you're not really liking the lines you have to play or you don't feel the lines are very good, you're just going to fall behind on that. So yeah, I definitely think Blue still has a run there, and I think this is where I'd start with it. I'd start with the Hook Smee package, and then I would just play as many games as you can and start changing things around and sort of morphing it towards what matchups you think you're going to see and what you're not going to see. Yeah, just yeah,